at first it was just me and my co-founder. We were selling to whoever would buy it. Out the back of our cars, like we had a rail at home. I was setting up the website, I was running the e-com orders, like it was all very small. The brand was creating this buzz and all of a sudden going to this party and there was 20 girls wearing the brand. Within a couple of seasons, we picked up all our dream clients, but we didn't actually have the experience of fully managing this team yet, the operations. So we kind of stumbled at the beginning. That's just, I feel like what happens sometimes when you grow too quickly. We were delivering outside of the window. Like, that's not allowed. Well, Selfridges is ringing right now and they need it yesterday. And actually some of these retailers that we launched with back then, like we lost them.
The industry is incredibly difficult. So what was the process of you building up your D2C?
I've got an amazing team, amazing structure around me. Kate Moss was one of our very early supporters. That changed the wheel for us. And I feel really ready for the scale now.
Welcome to Hot Girl Finance, a podcast where we decode the crazy, sexy world of money, one concept and business at a time. How do you turn a fashion brand into a proper business? Well, this week's guest, Jana Sascha, founder and creative director of fashion brand Vali, explains how she did it. The brand is nearly hitting its 10-year anniversary and its online sales surged 300% in a year. But how and why now? In this episode, Jana breaks down the economics and learnings of scaling an independent brand, the risks, the reinvention, and what it really takes to be profitable and successful. Jana, it is a joy to welcome you on Hot Girl Finance to hear about you building Vali, which is becoming such an iconic fashion brand. It's one of the hardest industries, and yet you are championing it. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
How did your understanding of money change from when you were little to now?
I grew up in Ibiza to, I would call, bohemian, glamorous parents who, even though in Ibiza, obviously you're surrounded by a lot of affluence and that kind of thing, they taught me the value of money very early on. So I felt like I always had to kind of earn my own money. And when I was really young, I got my first job, which ended up being the funnest job ever. Me and my friends, we used to kind of like have messy hair, wear colorful clothes, and we got scouted by the Pasha promoter team that had just launched Flower Power to be like the Flower Power promotion team and walk down the beach and hand out lollipops and flowers, aged 15. So we weren't even allowed in the club.
So underage.
And we got paid. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like having this much fun and being paid for it. So I think that kind of stuck with me. Like I always wanted to do something that I truly loved doing. Then I basically went to school, finished school, and instantly kind of wanted to start the brand. And within finance of the business, I feel like, you know, when I started it in a small scale, it was very hand to mouth. I was on the numbers. It was easy to manage. But then when that scale happened and all of a sudden you have employees and accounts and all these things start piling on, there was definitely a moment I felt a little bit intimidated by all of that. But over the years, I really understood the importance of being all over your numbers. And now I do find finance not intimidating, but interesting and exciting and even fun, which is very different to how I started. So it's definitely progressed a lot.
How many years into the business did you start to realize you needed outside help and you couldn't just run this as a fun hobby to see if it was working out?
So I feel like it kind of happened quite quickly. So at first it was just me and my co-founder, and we started it in Ibiza. We were selling to whoever would buy it out the back of our cars. Like we had a rail at home, you know, the beach shops, just anyone, wherever, whenever. And, you know, it really started catching momentum. And we felt like it could go a long way. So we found like an avenue to kind of start going in London. And we set up, I was setting up the website, I was running the e-com orders, like it was all very small. And then we found a partner that was like, you know what, girls, like, do you want to take this to the next stage? Like, I can help you.
Who was that partner? Was it a kind of investor type person?
Yeah, he was an investor. And in the end, actually, like, it didn't work out. And we ended up restructuring not too long ago. But that kind of that came on and it kind of changed things quite quickly. And actually, when that change happened, it was kind of intimidating because getting on top of all those different parts takes time. And it happened very quickly.
Was it the money this investor brought, or was it their expertise that suddenly meant the brand went from two girls' hobby to suddenly a commercial business that was making money?
He gave money, and then with the money came the team. So we then got a team around us, and we were really trying to kind of get things off there. And it happened so quickly. Like from that early moment, the success came almost overnight because we'd already created such a buzz in Ibiza. And by the time we got to London and we started going to wholesale, within a couple of seasons, we picked up all our dream clients that we wanted. But we didn't actually have the experience of fully managing this team yet, the operations, all these things that come with it. So we kind of stumbled at the beginning. And yeah, so that's just, I feel like what happens sometimes when you grow too quickly. And actually, some of these retailers that we launched with back then, like we lost them like after a few seasons. Why? Because our deliveries weren't on time, because our operations weren't in order. And, you know, thankfully now I'm so grateful that full circle, we're back in all those stores and more, and it's really flourishing. But I think I've learned so much about not growing too quickly. Like I think it's so exciting when you're young and someone believes in what you do and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, thank you for believing. I'm so excited. Let's go. And actually you're like, but wait, have I figured it all out? You know? So I think that was really important, integral part of the learning. And for me, I learned on the job. I just learned along the way, every step along the way. And now I've got an amazing team, amazing structure around me. And I feel really ready for the scale now. It's taken experience to learn not to say yes to the shiny things, even though they're really pretty.
I really appreciate your honesty because I feel that every business owner or anyone who is thinking about setting up a business is going to relate to that far more than everything was great. I can tell you when I launched Pop and Suki, which was a fashion brand I had in 2017 with Suki Waterhouse, we had launched these bags. And Selfridges, 6 months later, said, oh, we would love for you guys to launch the Selfridges. We're going to put you next to Gucci and Prada on the bottom floor around Christmas time. And obviously, we couldn't believe it. Selfridges were emailing us. And it was such a disaster because, to your point, we didn't have the operations robust enough. And also we're offering personalization. So suddenly this company that was based in LA doing all the personalization in LA, in a matter of weeks, we had to figure out, oh, well, how are we going to do personalization on demand in a store, and we just didn't execute it in the way it needed to be executed. And to your point, the shiny thing caused insane amounts of stress and pressure on the business, which had we, to your point, had a bit of patience and known a bit more, and had I listened to this interview myself, you know, nearly 10 years ago, maybe I would have said, maybe we would have said no to the big shiny offer.
It's a hard thing to navigate when you're young and you get that opportunity because you're like, is it going to come again? Like, is this the moment that I ride this wave? But I feel like running a business in fashion is a bit like riding a wave. Like, you know, you got to kind of roll with it and like pull back sometimes, and sometimes you got to go ahead, but it's just like navigating that. And also like, you know, if you're doing D2C, like especially in the earlier days, I know like professional D2C business is very different, but in the early days, when that stock was late, we're like, okay, well, we'll launch next week, you know? But it wasn't like, well, Selfridges is ringing right now and they need it today, yesterday.
Direct-to-consumer and retail are two totally different businesses, in a way. How do you approach the balance now?
So when Vali was founded officially in 2017, we quite quickly became a primarily wholesale business. And actually, like a few years ago when we had our restructure, one of our biggest points was to shift from wholesale to D2C. So we wanted to strengthen our D2C. And that has been the most empowering lesson and thing that we could have ever done for the brand, because not only do we now understand our customer, like we have a direct connection to her. We understand what she likes. We give her what she wants. Also, you know, when you can tell your brand story correctly, because often when wholesale represent your brand, they're just, you know, delivering an edit, or they might steer it into a different direction. But when you have your brand integrity and message clear to your customer, that is so much of the journey. And it really creates like a soul, which I think is so important. Like we opened a pop-up about, I think it was last year, spring, and it was supposed to be 6 months, and we extended again, and now it's our first permanent store. So we've just signed a 5-year lease, which has been amazing. And now we are actually 60% D2C and 40% wholesale. And the D2C is supporting the wholesale in such an incredible way. Like the wholesale is booming better than ever before. And I think it's through that, us strengthening as a brand and as a soul point, if that makes any sense.
That makes complete sense, because I can understand why you were more wholesale to begin with, because the industry has dramatically changed you're nearly coming up to your 10-year anniversary, which in fashion, actually in cat years, it's 97 years old, because it's so hard. The industry is incredibly difficult. So what was the process of you building up your D2C when you were changing this equation?
One of the most like pivotal things that we did, which seems so clear, but we hadn't really done it, is we looked at our best-selling stock and we stocked it. Mm-hmm. We stocked our bestsellers, which was so the website instantly started moving forward in such a strong way. There's a few key dresses that have been selling for years, but we just made sure that dress was never out of stock. Mm-hmm. And, we've actually, over the past 2 years, released a lot of extra best-selling SKUs. So that's been part of it. And then also like the direct connection to our customer, like having the pop-up and meeting our customers firsthand and having that connection where they can step into our world and see what the brand is about. We have like all these gorgeous books from Ibiza in the 70s and all this backstory, and even explaining that a bit more. Like, I was raised in Ibiza all my life, and it's such a big part of the brand. I'm also very into spirituality. Like we've got a tarot deck in the shop. Like there's all these little touch points of who I am and what I want the brand to reflect that we have brought in that people can connect to in a real physical way through the shop. And I'm really excited to expand retail further. I feel like retail's coming back, people like to shop in store. I love to shop in store. I would way rather go in, try it, feel it, walk out with the bag, have the whole experience. Online shopping, the scrolling, like it kind of drives me insane. So I think that all of that is part of it. And it's just an opportunity to really storytell and build that soul, integrity, connection to your clients.
It's so interesting that you say retail is back, because I totally agree. And I'm seeing such a shift in the way people are building brands away from this scale at all costs. Let's just put money into ads, meta ads, just dump it into Facebook. And to your point, really investing in brand and storytelling in a way that some brands have been able to scale without investing so much in that, and they are hurting as a consequence.
Yeah. I think the brands that really succeed are brands with like integrity and soul and meaning and purpose. And this was designed because a gap in the market or because of a connection from the founder or something like that. I feel like, the brand is like a reflection of all of that. And I think that, just plowing money into ads doesn't work if the backbone of the brand hasn't got that.
When you were first doing wholesale, what sort of learnings did you have to pick up very quickly in terms of stock, them returning stock, them selling, the price? Could you decide when it was going on sale, or do you just give up control completely, and stuff like that?
Yeah, you do kind of give up control completely. Also, I think what was hard is like navigating if they would want something exclusive in a colorway that you actually didn't believe in. And then they ordered it and then it didn't do well. And then you were like, oh, I wish I hadn't said yes to that. And then also I think one of the biggest learnings is you have one shot or you have two shots, but you have to deliver on time. I remember our very first deliveries, we were delivering outside of the window. That's not allowed. So I think being sure that you're ready, that your factories are ready, that things are running smoothly is so important, because, you at the end of the day, everyone wants to be in these stores. These stores are global stores. It's like a global open door to present your brand to the world. And it's such a privilege to be on these stores. And so you don't really want to mess it up, because also you don't know whether you're going to get a second chance. And I'm so grateful that we've got one. But, I think it's really important to make sure you've got your ducks in a row before you start going into that.
Yeah, it's kind of learning how to walk before you can run, as they say. Startups are so delicate that often you do not get a second chance.
Yeah.
And this is why I respect the brand so much, because to be as strong as you are after 10 years, having gone through so many different iterations of the business, you are a shining example of what a good entrepreneur does. Pivot, 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 pivot. What keeps you resilient when you are having to learn from standard mistakes, or having to just go through a pandemic, or all of these things that you've gone through on the macro scale as well? What keeps you staying in there and having not given up yet?
It's been like a shit show, Brexit, tariffs. I mean, it's just been one thing after the other. And just to sit around a table and be like, right, no one actually understands what's going on here. Tariffs, what? I mean, at one point they went up to 150%. It was wild. And we still managed to sell some at that crazy tariff, which was great. But, I think just having this amazing team that come together as a team, cool, calm, collected. And I feel so lucky to have such a great team, and just sit there and figure it out, get all the heads together and be like, right, guys, what are we going to do? And coming to a conclusion is really amazing.
Who's been your most instrumental hires that have genuinely changed the trajectory of the business?
So there's been 2 women that I hired about 5 years ago that have honestly supported me so much. They are so intelligent and wise and just absolutely magic.
And they do.
They're unicorns. They started in the brand in one role. One of them was head of product, one of them was head of sales, but they are so wise that they've managed to kind of wear many hats, and they're progressing within their careers. And my whole team, honestly, the team has grown so much. We are now, we had 4 people 2 years ago. We have about 17 now. But yeah, my right-hand women have really supported me so much, and I'm so grateful.
And how have you found your best employees?
Business of Fashion, LinkedIn, recruits, word of mouth, all of it.
And how many people will you interview on average to find the person that you end up hiring?
Honestly, there's one role we've been trying to hire for about 6 months now. It takes time, especially creative, because I design everything, and I'm very involved in it's all my creation. And actually, as the business is growing, I'm really craving that support within that area, but I'm finding it very hard to find that.
I think that's great advice, because actually, if someone is looking to hire someone, know that it's going to take longer than you think it's going to take, and start earlier, because to your point, you've spent 6 months trying to hire an important role. And luckily, you're not in a massive rush. I'm sure there is some time pressure, but you've given yourself time to find the best person.
Yeah, definitely. But we kind of started realizing that, because over the past 2 years, we've experienced such rapid growth. And we started kind of being like, wait, we should probably start looking for them now, because even though we don't actually want to hire them now, it's going to take us 6 months. And at that point, it's going to be crucial that we have them. So we are trying to, and we found some amazing people recently, really great people. And I'm really happy.
In the early days, and if someone has just set up a brand and they're kind of in that 0 to 1 stage, which hire do you think is most important for a small fashion brand?
I think it really depends on where your own strengths lie, and hiring into where you might not be the strongest.
So if you're a creative person, hire the person who's going to do numbers. Or if you're someone who's an introvert and you want a crazy, incredible salesperson that's going to go out there, the yin to your yang.
Exactly. And also, I think it's really important to find people that, as I said earlier, are well versed in many subjects, because when you do hires early on, it's important that, they understand a bit of sales, and they understand a bit of logistics, and they understand a bit of finance. And it's you can kind of tap into, you're not looking for an expert in one field, you're looking for someone to support your journey. So it's having that kind of free thinking aspect to it is also really important.
Do you prefer to nurture your own talent in the sense that you're okay on hiring someone that maybe has less experience because you're willing to, you feel they've got the raw materials, they've got the drive, got the passion, they've got the hard working attitude, and you're willing to teach them? Or do you now like to hire someone with experience because it's too time-consuming training?
It depends on the role. But recently, we have had some amazing hires come from inside our store. So girls, young girls that work in the shop that, have been working, selling the product, understanding the product, and then come on board to work in-house and are now like really impressing and working their way up. So that's been amazing. But I think it depends on the hire. You need someone really experienced in finance, then you need that person to come in with that experience.
Yeah. I love those stories. Yeah. Of people just working their way up and suddenly completely bossing it. Can you remember the moment that you suddenly got this massive surge of sales and you thought, wow, I'm on a different level now?
I feel like there's been many different moments where I felt like the brand could really take off. In recent years, it's just been like just crazy sales happening.
And why do you think?
I feel like we've been fine-tuning the brand for a long time. And it's like, when you just fine-tune it in a way that it's all just aligned. I've always really believed in the brand. Like I remember the very first dress that I designed, that I made in India, in Goa. And I was showing my dad on the beach. And I was like, Dad, look at this great dress I've designed. And it's kind of quite a bulky silhouette, very boho, kind of tent-esque. And he was like, darling, really? Do you really think you're going to make millions of those? And I swear to God, in that very moment, this fabulous woman walks by and goes, wow, these dresses are divine. I was like, and then she happened to run a boutique and even showroom in Belgium and placed her first order then and there. And, the moments like that have really kind of, given me confidence along the way. Or even there was this moment in Ibiza very early on where the brand was creating this buzz and all of a sudden going to this party and there was 20 girls wearing the brand. And at one point, I was just surrounded by this circle of all these women wearing these dresses, 3 sets of girls in the same dress, and just thinking, wow, this has legs. And I think once you have those moments of like, this is something meaningful. People are connecting to this, and I believe in it. And from then on, just holding on to that and carrying on the story. People always think these brands just fall out the sky and all of a sudden everyone knows about them, but it takes time. If you look back at some of these great brands that have been around, you look when they were actually founded, you're like, oh, wow. And then also opening the store. Like when we had that, which was supposed to be a pop-up, and it was full every day. And we had done not even that much promoting. And there was just people in there all the time. And that was amazing. So yeah, it's been an incredible few years. Like these last few years, I really feel like we've reached a whole new demographic and audience. And I don't 100% know how it happened, but it just does when things start aligning.
How important are influencers and celebrities to sales?
I feel like obviously the right celebrity endorsement is huge. It's like brand building. Like Kate Moss was one of our very early supporters, and that changed the wheel for us, especially at that stage when we were so young and no one had heard about us, and all of a sudden Kate was wearing it, and that was...
And how was Kate suddenly wearing it?
Well, I met her at a party and I happened to have a spare dress on me and I gave it to her, and that was that. And then she was really amazing as well, because she then was styling a shoot with Liv Tyler for Vogue, and she'd requested the collection, but it had completely sold out. And I was calling around my friends, because at this point it was like one-of-a-kind dresses, like found a gorgeous scarf, made a dress, that dress was sold, it's no longer on the website, I don't know who bought it. So it was like trying to get these dresses back, but then all of a sudden Vogue's going, who's Stella Vali? Like, who is this brand? Because it was very early on that happened. So obviously things like that happening really kind of have defined the trajectory of the brand. But I think nowadays, word of mouth influences, like it all kind of works. I'm not sure about I personally don't feel like it's as guaranteed. Like, for example, an influencer can wear a dress one day and it's the perfect dress on the perfect photo, and all of a sudden it just kicks off. And that same influencer might wear the same dress but in a different way, or a different dress, and it might not just have the same impact as that one moment in that one time. But I do think, obviously, word of mouth and getting it out there always helps.
It's really interesting to have that perspective on influencers that, yes, they can help sell, but they're really not the be-all and end-all. To your point, just the community of word of mouth seems to have sold just as many dresses as the odds celebrity.
Definitely. And also, if you go through our tagged photos and you see all the women reposting, and I always love to think I'm a bit woo-woo, but I sometimes speak to the dresses. I'm like, off you go to your new homes, make your new friends. And, it's true because off they go. And then maybe all the friends at the party wait, where did you get that? So I think there's so many ways in which a brand grows.
I love that. Speak to your dresses
I do. I'm like, off you go, guys. Go impress them.
You're ready. Yeah, it's so sweet. I have to say, I've noticed a correlation on a couple of things you've said. Firstly, for some reason, people who've become successful often have a background in either club promoting, working in nightclubs.
Really?
Yeah. Jeff Bezos' his first investor, his first business was a nightclub. And a lot of people have been club promoters. They've gone to be entrepreneurs. And I wonder whether a key skill in successful entrepreneurs is this ability to, I guess,
speak to strangers.
Right.
Yeah, I actually probably, I never even thought about it. But I do think there's an element of having to go out there and be proud to present whatever it is that you're working on.
That's really interesting. And the second correlation is that there is an Ibiza mafia. I don't know what it is in the Ibiza water, but Charlotte Tilbury, one of the most successful women in the world, born and bred in Ibiza, Della Vali, Annie, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
What is it about Ibiza that creates these amazing entrepreneurs, do you think?
I think there is something really free-spirited and uninhibited about Ibiza. I think, at school in Ibiza, I feel like I was really kind of influenced to just put my best foot forward and to just be myself. It was a very open community. Everyone was accepted. Everyone is supported. It's a really great place to grow up. I feel so lucky to have been brought up there. All anxieties and eating disorders, all these things are very rare in Ibiza. The children live happy lives. So I think that may be part of it, that you're yeah, I'm just going to do this. This is great. This is fun. This is what I want to do. So I'm going to do it, without too much kind of fear and anxiety or overthinking it. Maybe that's a part of it, I feel.
Do you care what people think of you? Are you quite kind of independently minded?
Obviously, I care. I want my team to like me. I want to be liked, but I don't feel like I think about it that much. I just try to put my best foot forward.
I think I noticed that in people that grew up in Ibiza, this ability to kind of be less influenced by the crowd.
Yeah.
Have that confidence to stand out.
Yeah.
And have an opinion, which is really interesting. So you started, obviously, the brand with a co-founder, and now you're a sole founder. What have you learned about the differences between building companies with friends to building company by yourself?
I started my business with my co-founder when I was really young. We had the best time. We were so aligned creatively. We had so much fun, especially in the early years, traveling to India, all this adventure. And, it took off really quickly. And as the business progressed, there were ups and downs. And we just, over the years, didn't quite align anymore. And I think it's really important to kind of stay aligned and also to understand what your goals are and how you get there. And she's actually moved back to Ibiza and started her own brand, and it's amazing. And I'm so happy for her, and she's doing really well with it. So I feel like it just came to a natural parting. But at the end of the day, I do think alignment's really important. And maybe sometimes that's not something that when you're starting a business in a kind of candid way that you actually end up discussing. So yeah, I think that's been the biggest lesson.
I mean, I've done businesses with people and by myself, and I can definitely understand that story, because it's actually two very different ways to run a company. And there's sometimes you have a co-founder relationship that's so sacred and it's incredible, and each other have, you have different skill sets that are perfectly complementary. But just like in any sort of relationship, if things change and people want to do different things. If somebody was thinking about setting up a business with their friend, what would be your advice?
I think that like finding strengths in each other's weaknesses is really a great attribute. And just alignment, making sure that you're like really know where you want to go and are realistic on how you're going to get there and who's going to do what. I think that's also really healthy conversations to have.
I mean, I think having honest conversations about what if it doesn't work out, because at the beginning, everybody thinks it's going to be a wild success. Yeah. No one can anticipate any problems.
Yeah.
So I do think it's really important to have those very honest conversations of, okay, what if you want to stop? What if I want to stop? Yeah. What would we do then? What would the company look like? How would equity look?
Because it's a marriage. So like, it's very important to think about all these things.
If you were going to set up another company, would you still be open to a co-founder relationship, or do you actually now realize how much you like being a sole founder?
I find it hard to think about because I'm so embedded in this company and I love this company so much. I can't really think about starting another company right now. I think it would depend on the company, on, if I was going to start something completely that I knew nothing about, but I had a great idea. Like I actually did have a good idea for an app. But, at that point, I would really love to completely be co-founders and have an input that I would want to give. But at this point, with where I'm at in fashion, I do love being kind of where I'm at right now.
And really being able to direct the vision of the business. Yeah. Entirely what's in your mind. Let's talk about the pricing. How do you come to agree on what things cost and what price point Della Vali was always going to be at?
So I think that was very intuitive. I mean, bear in mind, this was kind of like the beginning of contemporary fashion in a way. When we started, like that high-end luxury contemporary didn't really exist at that point. It was high-end or it was high street. And I felt like I was young and I couldn't afford a lot. But at the same time, I love beautiful cloths. I love beautiful product, and that comes with a price tag. So I think navigating that it's always a bit challenging. Sometimes I'm like, let's go all out. I'm like, but we've got a cap. But at the same time, I do think holding on to that cap has created a really strong brand because we have stayed true to that messaging. And I do think that messaging is really nice for, people can save up and buy something and it's accessible and it's still elevated, but it's accessible. And I think that messaging is something that we've managed to hold on to.
I have lived in your dresses this summer because they are so versatile. I love the fact that I've worn them maybe to 3 weddings, and yet I can wear them in the day with flats. How do you approach your design process in terms of creating versatile dresses?
So versatility is key. Obviously, a lot of the brand is inspired by Ibiza, my upbringing in Ibiza. And in Ibiza, you might go to the beach and you might throw a dress in the back of your car and then you're like, oh, I'll wear it to dinner. Oh, but maybe we'll pop by that party. So that versatility is one of the core inspirations. And within my design process, I often start sketching in Ibiza to really get into the element. I start mood boarding and then I start doing the color palette. And then at that point, I start working with my pattern cutter. I've got the most incredible, talented in-house pattern cutter. And sometimes we also work with other really talented pattern cutters because the workload can get quite a lot. We make a lot of dresses. But so we really start draping and fitting and developing these pieces. And from there, we send them to our factories and then we start getting our protos come through the door. But a lot of the design process, I like to keep it in the Mediterranean, try and be at least like when I'm thinking of the next collection, like do it whilst I'm sat on the beach, think about what I want to feel and like try and hone in on that energy and bring that back to the room in London where we start our process.
How much are you designing? How much are you just running the business? How much are you spending on marketing? How do you balance your time between all the different roles that's required of you?
Obviously, my heart and soul lies in the creative. And as I said earlier, like I am the only designer of the company right now, so I am doing a lot of that. But that doesn't mean that I need to not do the other things. Really, I need to give the design process more time, but I need to give the other side of the business more time as well. So at the moment, I really do have to be everywhere at all times. And it's very busy, but it's it's really important to be on every sector. Like, thankfully, I have a really good team, so I can step in and be like, right, what's going on over here? What's going on over here? What's going on over here? And then what's going on there? I would love to spend more time on the design, but I think it's probably about 50-50, I would say.
Let's talk about America, because you sell over there. How far into the business did you start selling to the US? And how has that business inside of the business grown?
So I think Moda Operandi was our first American client, and that has been just so incredible. Like, we work so well with the buyers there, and it has been such a natural collaboration. They really understand the ethos. They really understand the brand. We did an amazing event together during Paris Fashion Week. And we're like top 3 best-selling brand in our category on Moda Operandi, which is like incredible. And it's always been like a really aspirational store for me. I've always loved it. I always loved the edits and the selection. So doing so well on there, I mean, it's been such a good introduction into the American market, because I think a lot of people do kind of spend time on that website. Like, it's so beautifully curated. So that's been a really strong introduction into American market. But the American market is, I feel like there's such an appetite for the brand out there. And, you know, we haven't even fully set up our whole like operations out there, because I think now already it's our second biggest market, and only marginal less than the UK.
When you wholesale, how much of the profit margin do they take? What is the wholesale margin?
So the wholesale margin is 2.8, between 2.4 and 2.8.
Because a lot of brands would obviously think, oh gosh, that feels a lot that I'm giving away. But do you find that they really do give value in different ways? To your point, Moda Operandi has almost launched you in America and it's been so successful. So actually, you're happy to be giving them a margin because they're giving you back marketing support, or they're giving you back operational support.
Definitely, both those things. Like, you're getting your brand in front of a lot more people, and operationally, logistically, like also when you're a small brand and you're starting with your factories, you know, there's certain minimums that your factories might need. And with the help of all your wholesale clients, you can reach those minimums really easily. Also, it's a great way to test new product, to understand the appetite. Like, they might pick up something or try something. And also, like, you know, it's such a big scale in the end, wholesale. And once you get it right, it can really grow in such a big way that those numbers can really influence your business, even though the margin is less. So I do think it is really powerful.
I really enjoy this positive approach to wholesale, because I do feel that for a while people have been kind of like this against wholesale, but to your point, they can be really amazing partners.
Yeah, I'm noticing more stability within the market at the moment that I feel positive about. But it's been a tough few years for wholesale. You know, there's been, especially post-COVID, like, yeah, it was feeling quite uncertain. It was definitely like, you know, a scary few years. And when matches went under and all of that, like it was a bit shaky for a minute there.
And in a way, the fashion industry desperately needs wholesale. It helps so many brands, it sounds like.
Yeah.
When it comes to stock, how much do you usually have left over dead stock, and what do you do with it?
So currently, we're kind of navigating our stock quite well. We're not over-ordering. It's really hard when we launch our new collections because they're quite diverse, and we're working with a lot of wholesale, they're quite big collections, to know what will do well. So we tend to try not over-order, see the appetite, and then reorder. But then also, we're just selling through the stock quite quickly. So in the end, there's not that much left. You know, by the time we move into the next season, we're not left with loads. And if we are, then we'll do a sample sale. But at the moment, we haven't got a big end of stock.
I mean, it's really interesting because I think it's one of the greatest challenges young fashion brands have, is managing how much to buy, because you don't want people to be waiting too long for it. And at the same time, you don't want too much left over. So it's such an intuitive process. What are your lead times in general?
So actually quite long, some of them. But what we try and do is, like, when we gauge something's doing well, we try to pre-order the fabric and have that ready to go. It's about 10 weeks, 11 weeks. So it's not nothing. But, you know, I think when you're like growing the brand as well, like, it kind of creates a bit of urgency when, you know, people can't get that dress anymore. You're like, you know, have you ever experienced that feeling? You're like, no, I need it. So I think, and then also, our wholesale clients might have it. So then they could go there. And then once we restock, we could have it again. So it's kind of working really well at the moment. But yeah, sometimes we try to kind of up our numbers a bit if we believe on something a lot. Because sometimes it's a shame, Hailey Bieber wore a dress last summer and we'd sold out for months. There was none left at all. And in a moment like that, by the time you reorder and all of it, and it's already an old collection, it kind of might not be worth it, which is a shame because you then don't see the success of that.
Is Hailey Bieber a big driver of sales?
Well, we don't know because it wasn't there anymore. But I think so. We had crazy click-through, crazy requests.
Wow.
And we were for a minute going to restock it. And then we had so much newness. And, as mentioned before, it just wasn't worth it at that moment in time to pile on more work because we had so many launches coming up. So we decided not to, but we probably should have.
How many items will you design in any one collection?
A lot. So our new spring summer collection, which is bridal and mainline, is 70 SKUs. And normally it's between 50, 60. This drops slightly bigger, but now we're also doing capsules. So we did a capsule for Moda Operandi. So yeah, it's a lot of designing and developing going on at our HQ.
70 dresses?
Yeah. Well, and separates. Separates are really taking off for us as well, which is so exciting because I love them.
And you're doing 70 twice a year? Or four collections every single year with about 70 within them? Yeah,
50, 60, 70, but then piling on exclusive capsules as well. So it's a lot.
I can now understand why you're working so hard. That is a lot of designing.
Yeah.
And do you have such big collections because you constantly want the brand to be varied and there be something for everyone? Because also it sounds like with a big collection, stock management is an even greater challenge.
Yeah. So obviously from that collection, not everything will make it to market. Okay. There will always be a bit of fallout. And also, yes, I'm really passionate about the development of the collection. So I will want to push a new thing. Like, for example, our autumn-winter collection has knitwear. And, that was a long development process, but I was really passionate about getting that out there. And so each collection, our next collection has shearling and coats and outerwear. So I'm really passionate in pushing the collections forward and introducing new product. Like the brand is doing really well and it's really nice to see new people resonate with new ideas. And that also gives us kind of an understanding for the appetite and the future development of the collections, which is something that I'm really excited about. So I'm normally the one that's pushing for the collections to get big because I'm like, no, that's gorgeous. We need that, But at the same time, it's always a bit of a struggle because you've got to keep them small enough, but big enough. But, and I could keep on going. Like I love it. That part of it is what keeps me really, really happy.
How big is bridal for you?
Huge. Really, really amazing. Like we started it just because we had some requests for white dresses and we thought, should we just try this and see what happens? And it has become such a big part of the business. I feel like the modern bride really loves, is resonating with what we're doing. This bohemian, easygoing, undone, but opulent, but relaxed bridal is, I think, maybe a gap in the market. We didn't even plan it, but I feel like people are really resonating to it. So it's exciting because I really love designing it. So I think it's really fun.
Do you notice a different psychology when people are buying bridal to everywhere dresses?
In many ways, you'd actually probably think it would be a harder sell. But somehow it doesn't seem that way. It seems like people are just really resonating to that product. Della Vali's always been kind of this kind of interesting mixture between being dressed up, but not too dressed up. So, often it makes sense for wedding guests, like, because it's like, you're more than going out to the shops, but it's also, it's not like, it sometimes isn't black tie, it's like kind of that in between often, that kind of Ibiza long, but like it's not so out there. So I feel like within bridal, that's kind of exactly what you want to look like. So that effortless, easygoing energy, I think people are just really resonating with.
How interesting that you didn't even plan to do bridal and suddenly it's become a very robust part of the business.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It really, really has been.
Finally, what is your advice on funding and raising investment?
My personal experience, so me and my co-founder both put in £1,000. So we had £2,000 to make our first teeny tiny collection. And from that, we managed to gain some profits and it was doing well. And my dad had observed us doing this and was seeing how well people were resonated to the product, like the woman on the beach. And he was impressed. And I asked him whether he would support our journey with £10,000, and he did. And that was an amazing platform for us to get going. That was enough for us to start generating more and more, getting eyes on the brand, getting the brand out there. At a certain point later on, we got investment, which then kind of wasn't the right thing for us. And we ended up kind of going into a restructuring a few years later. And now we are completely privately funded, operating on our profits. And yeah, it's been amazing. And I like to keep it that way because I think it's small and it's so soulful and manageable. So I'm really enjoying it in that way.
At the beginning, I imagine you didn't pay yourself. At what point did you then say, okay, I've got to take a small salary?
I mean, it was such a long time ago. I feel like we did. We kind of were already managing to take enough out. We were young, so we didn't need that much. We were still kind of getting by.
Your journey is exceptional. It's so interesting and it's really valuable to hear about the different stages of a business because I think that what you show is resilience and patience to know that a brand is a long story and you're here for the long run, not just, a short, quick exit, growth at all costs type of approach. So to finish, I'd love to end with our spend or save round. Fashion shows.
Currently save, but I would love to spend.
Influencer dinners.
Spend.
Performance marketing.
Spend.
Influencer fees.
Save.
Retail shop leases.
Spend.
Lawyers.
Spend.
Trademarks.
Spend.
Business class flights.
Spend. I'm 6 foot tall. And I have a dodgy knee, so.
Fabric.
Spend, but sometimes have to save. It's a bit of a depends on the dress scenario, which I have a hard time with that. I love to spend on that too.
Trend reports.
Save.
Micro-influencers.
Spend.
Content creation.
Spend.
That's interesting, because content creation, do you feel that you can do it quite cheaply?
Oh, well, it depends what kind of content creation, like shoots or like small content shoots. Because I shoot the small content shoots on my film camera and it costs us nothing. But if it's a campaign or if it's a photo shoot, then we spend.
Birkin bags.
I don't have one, but maybe spend.
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 What do you save on then? What are the things that you try to be very lean with?
Well, we don't pay any influencers. I don't know. I kind of do believe money is an energy. And I like feeling quite abundant with money. So not saying that I just spend, which is what it sounds like. But I think it's important to be free. And especially in a fashion business, I do think every element is quite important to kind of spend in. But influencer marketing, we don't do any of that. I can't think about anything else off the top of my head that we save on.
Very helpful. Very helpful.
Spend.
This interview has been so interesting, as I've said. I think it's, I'm obsessed with the brand. I wear it religiously.
You look so good in it.
I'm obsessed. Especially these new collections as well. I'm really dying over your designs. But as I said, it's really interesting to hear the inner workings of a brand and how hard you work just to deliver all the girls that wear your products with these beautiful, energetically filled designs. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so amazing what you're doing and giving people an insight into this. I wish I could have listened to your podcast when I was starting.
Me too. I would have made so many less mistakes.
I know.
Want more tips on the crazy, sexy world of money? Subscribe to stay connected, send it to your friends, and rate the show to help more women find us. We need to empower everyone we know because this is a group effort. Hot Girl Finance is now on all podcast platforms, Instagram and YouTube. Send us a DM for any topics and guest suggestions you'd like us to cover. See you soon. Until next time, stay hot and look after your finances.